Recession 2023 will be horrific. Be prepared. Economists are warning of an inevitable recession next year. With the global economy currently in rough shape, a recession is due to happen. The best time to prepare for things to come is before they happen. We do not know exactly when a recession will occur, but we do know that it will happen every so often. People call it a recession when there are 2 consecutive quarters where negative growth occurs in the gross domestic product, the broadest measure of a country's output. But we've heard nothing of this on the news, who have maybe even scorned these claims as hype. But what if they are true? What if there really is a recession in 2023? Are you prepared? Will you be able to continue to operate your business and still provide for your family? Hi, and welcome back to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. We are mere days away from 2023. Don't you want to be prepared? When a downturn comes, don't you want to be in a position where it doesn't feel like your life is going on a downward spiral? Don't you want to be in a place where you can weather the storm and be stronger afterward? If so, then make sure to hit that thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our videos. Now, without further ado, let's get on to the video. It is generally accepted among economists that a recession has set in when the GDP has fallen for 2 consecutive quarters in a row. In the first several months of this year, it has already taken place. On the other hand, the growth of the GDP in the third quarter was positive, which suggests that perhaps we are not in a recession after all. But why must things be this way? Why couldn't the globe simply slow down for a few quarters without making more money and yet be fine? Who determined that these 2 GDP quarters would be the indicator of a recession? When the population of the world is taken into consideration, it is easy to understand how the economy would be negatively impacted if the population were to quadruple while food production stayed the same. The expansion of our gross domestic product is a measure of our demand relative to the rise in our population. It is necessary for a nation's level of production of goods to at least meet the needs of its people. Now, if there were to be a decrease in the population, the increase in GDP would not be nearly as big. Nevertheless, rather than decreasing, we are increasing at this time. In 1952, there were only 2.5 billion people on Earth. According to the United Nations, we reached the 8 billion mark this week, and there will be another 2.5 billion in another 70 years. In other words, the human population has more than doubled since 1952. Due to the fact that we must always produce more goods to satisfy growing global demand, it is crucial for economists to monitor the GDP. However, GDP also tracks other indicators of progress, such as the development of new technologies. Our efficiency and productivity would increase if we could develop a device that could grow more food for us. The issue is that food alone is not sufficient for human needs. Additionally, in order to maintain our standard of living, we need cars, employment, homes, and fulfillment. Additionally, we need to agree on the variables themselves, how to measure them, and how to integrate them to create a single clear picture. In light of this, the LEI has been proposed as a new indicator to assist us in predicting our growth. The leading economic index, often known as the LEI, integrates a number of leading economic indicators to create a single polymerization style that gives us a picture of the so-called business cycle. It starts by determining the average number of hours worked per week by those working in manufacturing. Then, it takes into account the average weekly number of first claims for unemployment insurance. Third, it analyzes any new orders that manufacturers have placed for raw materials or finished consumer goods. To put it more simply, it is an evaluation of the amount of work that businesses are spending on the production of things that customers like us would purchase, such as clothing, cell phones, televisions, and other products. Fourth, it examines the ISM, also known as the Index of New Orders. It tracks changes in supply chain productions throughout the whole economy and is often referred to as the PMI, or the Purchasing Managers Index. Fifth, it examines fresh manufacturing orders for non-defense capital expenditures, excluding aircraft. It analyzes the company's purchases of items like equipment that would enable them to produce more goods. Therefore, it would consider things like AI robots to help them create more cars, among other things, instead of pens and tablets. Sixth, it looks at building permits for newly constructed private homes. When there are more people working in the construction industry, there is an increase in economic growth and expansion. This is because there are more people looking for jobs. When there are fewer buildings being created and fewer construction permits being given, there are fewer prospects for growth and expansion. These two factors work hand in hand. But before we move on to the next part of this video and talk about the seventh function of the leading economic index, or LEI, I just want to ask you guys what your thoughts are about LEI so far. Do you think this brand new indicator will help us in predicting our growth? If yes, let us know in the comment section below to let the ball rolling. And now, let's go back to the video. Seventh, it analyzes the S&P 500, an index that measures the top 500 US companies. Economic wealth increases in direct proportion to shareholder wealth. Eighth, it examines the leading credit index, which is a measure of the M2 or the entire global supply of money that has been adjusted for inflation. More precisely, it analyzes the 6 distinct types of creditors and asset instruments in terms of their respective credit availability. In the ninth place, it explores the difference in the interest rates that apply to 10-year Treasury bonds and 2-year Treasury bonds. The goal is to have interest rates on 10-year Treasury bonds that are higher than those on 2-year Treasury bonds. If these two numbers are reversed, even though this is an extremely unlikely occurrence, it indicates that a recession is taking place in the economy. 10th, it examines the overall consumer's perspective on economic conditions or consumer sentiment. The way that people choose to spend their money has a significant impact on both the level of economic activity and the way that we feel about the future of the economy. And things are not looking good at the moment. According to the most recent report, there is a high probability that we will be in recession 7 months from now if we examine the business cycle. It places us in the first half of 2023, and things don't seem good because our GDP will end up being 1.5% lower than it was the previous year. This is not desirable given that we ought to anticipate a growth rate of between 2 and 3% in a healthy economy. As a result, we'll achieve about half of what we expected this year, and next year looks much worse. The Consumer Price Index, which tracks inflation, registered 7.7% last week. Inflation measures affordability with respect to meeting our demands. The good news is that inflation appears to have peaked at over 9%, but the bad news is that prices are not declining quickly enough. This means that the central bank will probably raise rates again, hurting us much more, just to get rid of this inflation. The good news is that inflation appears to have peaked at over 9%. If there is a recession in the economy throughout the course of the following year, we can anticipate that the government will increase spending in an effort to reduce tax and interest rates in order to end the recession and restore economic growth. However, next year, at least the first part of it, will bring great levels of suffering. Hi! Thanks for making it to the end of this video. I hope you learned something valuable, and if you enjoyed it, please hit like and subscribe as it would help us extend our reach to many audiences. Also, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is Finance Sense, helping you keep up with all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Stay tuned for the next video.